I walked into Morton's Steakhouse at 6:30 p.m. sharp and asked the boob job hostess if my father had arrived. The name is Auerbach, I said, trying not to look at her cleavage as she bent down and checked the reservation. She smiled and pointed to my father sitting at a table toward the back facing the front door like a mafia don. He was in the middle of asking the waiter about the wines on the list. I suspected he saw me approaching, but he continued talking to the waiter. Is this as big as a Barolo? When the waiter said yes, my father gave him the nod as if assigning a hit and then looked at me. "Kimma, how are ya?" he said, opening his arms in his sticky way. I don't know why he calls me Kimma. It makes me feel fat. I kissed him on the cheek and sat down, placing my purse on the shoulder of the chair and wiggling in my seat to get comfortable. The waiter poured my father a taste of wine. My father swirled, sniffed, sipped, and then nodded his head in approval. The waiter took his cue and filled my glass and then his. My father stared at me, waiting to see what I thought of the wine. "It's delicious," I said, not sure of the proper adjectives to describe a wine that's as big as a Barolo. He smiled. For a man who acts as if he's above everyone else, he sure likes approval. "So," he asked. "So," I asked, not liking the dangerous agenda-filled look in his eyes. "I've been thinking about it, and it's time for Noah to propose." "Excuse me," I said, my red wine going up my nose. "At some point, it's just insulting. If he won't commit, he's using you," he said, and then bent down, pulling out a plastic bag from his briefcase. "I hope you can learn something from this," he said, and slid the bag across the table toward me. I reached in and pulled out a book. "Closing the Deal, 2 Married Guys Take You from Singleness to Wedded Bliss." "I saw them on the CBS morning show," he said. "They were talking about how to get a man to marry you. I thought, I need to get this book for Kimma." So I went to Barnes & Noble, told the information guy I was looking for the book. He handed me, "He's just not that into you." "No, that's not the problem," I told him. He pointed downstairs to the relationship section. "You wouldn't believe how many fakakta relationship books there are." I started to walk back upstairs, and guess what? I saw the book on display just like that. There it was. "Dad, I know you mean well, but please," I begged in a whisper. "It's insulting. You're a beautiful woman. Why should you wait around for a man? You don't need to wait around for a man." "Dad, I don't want to get married for the sake of being married." "Don't give me that malarkey," he said, his face turning red. I wanted to point out that he was on his 4th marriage and should shut up, but I took a deep breath and said, "I want to marry Noah, yes. We're working on it. He's very good to me. Isn't that enough?" "He is good to you. I actually think Noah would make an excellent life partner, but he needs to step up to the plate," he said, pulling a piece of bread out of the basket. "Frankly, I think if you broke up with him, he would come back with a ring." "I can't break up with Noah at some ploy, Dad. Are you guys ready to order?" the waiter asked. "Yes, I'll have the iceberg salad with blue cheese dressing and the filet mignon very rare, my father said, hitting the table with the tops of his chubby fingers to make a point. "Black and blue it is, sir," the waiter said, knowing my father's type. "And you?" the waiter turned to me and asked. I said, flipping over the book so he couldn't read the title. "I'll have the salmon with the spinach." "Good choice," he said and walked away. "Listen, Kimma, I promise I'll never bring it up again, but last week," he said, reaching back into his briefcase. Oh God, not another book. "Last week I was at my jeweler getting one of my watches fixed and saw the most beautiful antique diamond ring and thought, this is my daughter's engagement ring." He opened the bag and took out a black velvet box. I gasped. "Tell Noah he can buy this for me whenever he's ready. It's a special ring like no other, just like my daughter." Oh my fucking God! My father just proposed to me! My face felt hot and the smell of charcoal grilled meat wafting through the air was making me sick. I turned away so I couldn't glimpse the ring and excused myself to the ladies' room. I slipped outside to catch my breath instead. As I stood in front of the restaurant, practically hyperventilating, a tall man with dark hair and a kind face walked over to me. Maybe he could be my husband. Maybe he would want to marry me. Maybe he thought I needed the Heimlich. He asked me if I had a light. "I'm sorry, I don't smoke," I said. I wished I smoked. I wished there was something in my life that could give me instant comfort. I wanted to call Noah. He was my real comfort. But I couldn't call Noah. I couldn't tell him that my father had just gotten me an engagement ring. I took a deep breath and headed back inside. I didn't want my father to know he'd gotten to me, so I ducked into the ladies' room to splash water on my face. I walked over to the sink, and looked at myself in the mirror, noticing everything wrong. The pimple on my forehead, my bloodshot eyes, my belly. I wiped the black liner from underneath my eyes and adjusted my skirt. The zipper had somehow made its way to the front where it didn't belong. As I approached my father, I counted the seconds to see how long it would take him to look up from his BlackBerry. 30. Where were you? He asked, continuing to type an email. Sorry, I had to make a call. For the rest of the evening, we made small talk and ate like normal people. He told me about his purebred white Coton dog and how he likes to curl up on his pillow at night, and how in thunderstorms he gets so freaked out that he actually sleeps on my father's head. I kept my eyes on my mashed potatoes and said, wow, that's cool, in a monotone voice. I looked up briefly at one point and saw my father chomping on his salad. His mouth was open and he had blue cheese dressing all over his chin. I was pretty sure he had on the most expensive watch in the room, but inside he was still a poor Jewish boy from the Bronx. After we finished our entrees, he asked me if I wanted dessert. I shook my head no, so he asked for the check. As he was signing the bill, he joked, do you think people think you're my daughter or girlfriend? Ew! I looked at the family sitting next to us eating their cream spinach in peace and hoped they didn't just hear that. As we stood in front of the restaurant in awkward silence, he handed me a 20 for a cab. I thanked him. He patted me on the back with his one-hand hug and walked away. I know he loves me. I know he loves me. I know he loves me. This is what I keep telling myself about the men in my life.
Double the Lovers and Me just came out in paperback, and it's her birthday, so buy a copy for her as a birthday present.